kicking off this track this morning with a little bit of information and some of the things that I have learned throughout my years of working with game startups. So why do I think that I know a few things about this? So these are a few of the initiatives that I've co-founded and that I'm helping to run. So I have been working with either startups or game studios for I would say over 10 years now. So in addition to creating a few companies myself, I have been involved in Accelerator, Incubator, IGDA Estonia, different competitions. I've been evaluating some of the EU grants for video games. So I have seen a fair share of young studios, and I've seen how they struggle and what are the questions that they want to answer, and what are some of the ways that they have solved their position. But so before I actually go into the topic, I want to go like a really fast run through from Game Founders. So who has actually heard what Game Founders is? Yay! 4 people. So my mission by the end of the next 2 minutes, you will all know what Game Founders does. So Game Founders is a games accelerator. If you've heard of Techstars, Y Combinator, these are all accelerators, but they work in the tech space. So what we saw was that there wasn't really anything like that in the game space, and you didn't really see a lot of game companies going to these tech accelerators because the mentor pool was just too different. They didn't really get good feedback from there, and also the game mentors didn't want to go there because they only saw 1 or 2 out of 10 teams that were relevant to them. So we wanted to fix that problem for both sides, and we decided to do Game Founders. And basically, it's a global pool that we are looking studios from. So it doesn't matter where you're regionally based. We are still always accepting applications. And the teams need to fly in for 3 months to experience the program that we have. And the main elements of the program, in a sense, are definitely our mentors. So by today, we have over 150 mentors who are themselves all game studio executives, marketing directors, successful indies, or people that we see are really good in some part of the whole game studio creation and game development. So these people come in during the 3 months, talk to the teams, look at their games, give seminars, so give them feedback. So it's a lot of interaction, a lot of feedback. Sometimes a bit confusing, but we try to help you understand this whole process. We have a bunch of partners that are giving our studios deals on their products, or like, for instance, thank you Casual Connect for allowing our studios to come here, and they usually get special conditions. So thank you for that. So we have different partners in the ecosystem that we work with. We do playtest days for the games to be tested. We do board meetings to sort of set the strategy and the vision for the teams. We do pitch days that some people love, some people hate. But at the end of the 3 months, we even get the most clumsy pitch into a perfect 3-minute overview. And we do study trips to see studios that are already working really well, to learn from that. And then at the end of the program, we have demo days so that they can showcase their games and their teams to investors and publishers. And also we do follow-up support. So after the 3 months, they're still in the program, they still get access to all of the mentors, and they see the live streams of all the seminars, they get intros and everything. So we are basically still working with them as investors, because we do a small investment of 15,000 euros and we take a 9% share of it for it. So basically it's still an investment deal in that sense. So that was Game Founders. Feel free to ask me questions about this. We are currently functioning in Malaysia. So we did 2 years in Europe. Now we have expanded to Asia so that we could also extend our own mentor and partner network and help our studios in that region more as well. But let's go to the point. So publishers or investors, who should we pick? Can I have a show of hands who actually is a publisher here? So you know all about this. I promise I will not say anything bad about you. Do we have investors in the room? Yay. So you guys already know everything about this. So correct me if I'm wrong. But so basically, the way that I see this, I'm going to show you a few angles of how publisher and investor deals are different. I mean, in general, of course, both publishers and investors are ways for indies to grow their business to help achieve the goals. But still, both of them have different expectations, different goals, and different deal structures. So who should you pick and when is basically what you are able to analyze better after hearing this. So if you have a publisher, they look at your game and they think, I want to make 1 million this year. So that's sort of like what they're thinking. They look at the game and they sort of like think like, does this fit my goal? You have an investor. An investor is thinking, I want to make some like X amount of return in so many years. It depends on the investor. If they are VC, if they are angels, so they have their different numbers. So the numbers are just examples, but that's the way that they think. So whenever you are approaching somebody, you should always think like, so what do they want to get out of it? And basically analyze based on that if you want to go into that deal. So let's say when you're starting to make the deal, when you're thinking like, where should I go or what's even possible for me, then so I have publishers on the left side and investors. No, what's your left? Your so basically the green one is publisher and the blue one is investor always. So publishers are looking at your game. So these days, they're looking at soft launch numbers because there aren't so many publishers that are so happy to see paper concepts and give you money to make it. But so they want to see some numbers. They want to see the game fit their portfolio, fit their users so that they can cross promote with their other games. And they want to know like why, sort of like, why is it a good game? Like, is it a sequel? Is it a known IP? Like, why do you think that game is going to make money? So that's sort of like the things that are going in are the questions that are in the head of the publisher. At the same time, the investor is looking at your team. Does that team have a hit in the past? Do they have a good portfolio? How do I know that they work well together? How do I know that it's going to be a successful match? Like, what are the previous cooperation partners? Have they done something great? So just by looking at this, you should understand that one is focusing on a specific part of your business, while the other is focusing on the whole of your business. So you should think about this. So you can use this as a sort of like criteria. Like, should I even go and sort of waste my time and chase investment? Am I even ever going to get that? Or maybe I should start with a different strategy and build up something that they are looking for and then go and get the investment. So that's always individual. And I'm saying again, like, all of the choices are fine. Just make them consciously for yourself. Second thing is, so what are you getting? So you get the deal. What are you actually getting? Think about that. What are you getting? What do you need? So publisher side, of course, you get PR support, you get like launch support. They will help you figure out how to monetize the game. They have experience with a lot of games, so they can give you game design advice. They can help you all with all of these practical details. Necessarily, they will not give you money. When we started Game Founders in 2012, there were a number of publishers that were still giving also development money. So before you don't have the game necessarily ready, they will give you a bit of money and then you can finish it up and they will help you launch it. But these days, since there are just like so many games on the market, they have the possibility to say, I want to see soft launch numbers. So it's a bit difficult. So in that sense, for publishers, usually you still have to have the funding to make the game, but they will help you launch it. So with investors, you get money for development, you get money for marketing. If you think about it, if an investor comes in, they necessarily don't want you to share your revenue with a publisher because that means that you get less and the company that they sort of part own also gets less revenue. So of course, it depends on the size of the investment and the strategy of the company, but usually when you get investment, they would say that they would want you to build your own marketing team and be yourself able to do that. But at the same time, definitely not mutually exclusive. And of course, you get some advice and network from game investors as well, because game investors and tech investors are usually two different animals. So people that believe in games, also are from the industry and can actually give you a lot of good advice. But they will definitely not do your PR, marketing, and launch for you. So different things that you are getting, think about what you actually need at that point. So what are they getting out of the deal? So that's something that I'm probably explaining like once a month. Is so where is the revenue? So with a publisher, you sign a game, they take a percentage of the revenue that you get. So usually there can be different options. There can be like a lump sum in the beginning for recouping any of the costs, and then you share. Like that's already detailed, but it's still the revenue of one game that we're talking about here. And also one thing that you should look at in when you're doing publishing deals is what are the conditions for prequels, sequels, or all of that. So how much of your sort of IP you're actually giving away, and what is happening there. But for investors, so I always hear that at least once every time that we do our applications, I hear the question that, so you're taking 9%, does it mean you're taking 9% of our revenue? It does not. So when you get an investor, they have a share in your company. Doesn't mean that they're gonna just waltz in every month and say, so let's look at the monthly revenue, I'll take my 9% now. So the ways that investors can make money there are actually three ways investors can make money when they invest. So first, if the investor, if you find another investor that is bigger, that comes in, invests in you, and the previous investor leaves. Second option, you are just making so much money with your game, you don't know where to put it, and you want to buy out the investor yourself. Third option, again, you're making so much money and you start paying dividends. The investor is also a shareholder, they will get their share of the dividends. That is not the dividend version is not the way that investors want to make money at the end of the day, but these are the three ways that they will get any of your money. So there is no kind of revenue that you have to share or anything. So it's like, again, like the whole structure of the deal makes the whole philosophy behind it different. So think about that as well. Also, investors always want you, the founders, to be in the company. So you will probably have a lock-in period, which means that you have to do it for a certain period of time, and also a non-compete, which means that you cannot do other game stuff at the same time. So to make sure that you are not taking the IP to a different company. So these are the restrictions you have to also consider. Now, short versus long term. So what is the time span that they are actually committing to you? So if you look at publishers, they do contracts game by game. So they can have in the contract, there can be a clause that says like, sequels, prequels, whatever, but it's never a guarantee. So it's a right to choose, but it's not something that they have to do. So think about that. And it's a short, but it's not necessarily a bad model. Like, you might want to adjust your strategy as well, so it might work for you. At the same time, investors are your shareholders until exit. So I always like to say that the moment you get the investor in, you have to know that your company is for sale. It's not like they're going to do it in a second, but in theory, at some point, somebody has to buy something for the investor to make the returns. If they don't believe that, they don't want to invest in you, because it's not like a lending society or something. And the last point is regional versus global. So with publishers, what you can do, and what I've actually seen successfully done, is carving out a market. Like, let's say one publisher does West, another does China, another does Japan, because a lot of the times there are publishers that are really good in one market, but not necessarily covering all the markets. So it's fine to do that. It's common practice. You are totally able to do that. And the same with platforms. So you can have many publishers at the same time and build up your marketing with that. And at the same time, with investors, same as previously, they have a share in your company wherever you are, whatever platforms you're on. They're always with you, and so that's also something that you need to think about. So to recap, I would say that that companies that want to be, let's say, lifestyle companies, which is, again, as I said, totally fine. If you want to be a lifestyle company, you want to do the games that you just yourself love. You want to do the next game whenever you want to do the game. You don't want to have any pressure. Go with publishers, of course. If you just want to think about only the game design, you don't want to worry about the marketing, you don't want to worry about what's going to happen next. Depends on, of course, what kind of game you're doing. If you're doing free to play and like you are not managing your community, that might not fly too long. But just sort of like that is the kind of companies that would really fit publishers. Or at the same time, if you are, let's say, a smaller company and you haven't published the game yet and you have the game ready, you sort of like want to learn the whole marketing part, you want to learn the ropes, also really good way to go to publishers. So you can work with them, you can see how it's all done, you can have somebody sort of like walk you through the process, also very good. Third thing that I see is carving out markets and platforms. So a lot of the time, wherever you are from, you feel that you are comfortable publishing there, but not necessarily on the other side of the world or not necessarily in other markets. Or if you just see a publisher that is like perfect for you in the sense that they have the exact target group within their games, like these are all the strategic decisions that you can make for getting the publisher, and that would be a good decision. And for investors, of course, usually you have to have either a big name or a sequel or a known IP or some kind of like a really strong criteria in your team or company for them to even consider you. So think about how to build that up first, and then save your time when you go to the investor, and that you're not just sort of like pitching a concept on paper that is done by a bunch of guys that have never done anything. So be realistic about also what you're pitching. So to finish up, I want to show you 3 cases from our portfolio. So they have all done different choices, and all these choices have worked for them. So I think I'm sorry for not giving you a clear answer about what to do, but just a lot of fuzzy criteria what to sort of consider. But the first studio is Bad Seed Entertainment from Italy. So they were in our accelerator in 2012. So they decided, it's a bunch of people that they are really strong in creating the games, the game design, programming, art, everything is super cool. But they decided they don't want to do the marketing part, so they decided they are working with publishers. So every single one of their games is always published by a publisher, but at the same time, because they are doing their games that they're doing are pretty complex, and now they're also heading for PC and console, it takes a bit of a bigger budget as well. Then they are also working with investors, so they have already raised a substantial amount of money, and they manage to balance it, so they're working with both sides, and everybody's happy. So that's an option how to use both of them. But as I said, they made a conscious decision. They don't want to do the marketing part in-house, so that's what they did. Second case study is from Brazil. So it's a company that was newly created, so no big names there, no IP, nothing known really, even no portfolio, I would say. So it was quite impossible for them to find investment. At the same time, the game was really good. So when they came to Game Founders in 2014, I think they had like 10,000 accounts, and now they are approaching million already. So it's going really fast. And so what they have done, it's a real-time multiplayer, multi-platform game. So what they have done is carved out China, carved out mobile, carved out like different aspects or different sort of like regions and also platforms, and they have used different publishers for different ones. So that's the way it works for them and for their game. Just another example to sort of get you thinking. Last case study, it's our Tiny Lab Productions. They were with us in 2013, and so they did one game because they hadn't published a mobile game before. They did one game with a publisher. They learned from it, and they decided it's not for them. They want to do it themselves. So what they just did, like they did a lot of analysis. They published their own game, and they're making a lot of money right now off advertising, and they're using that to build their next games. So basically, what worked for them is to do everything on their own. So what I'm sort of trying to give you is a bunch of tools how to evaluate what is good for your studio, and give you a lot of examples to confuse you in the end. So I'm hoping that I succeeded in that. So that was the first presentation. Thank you for staying awake. And do you have any questions?
Questions?
So I'm kind of approaching this from the other angle. I work for a research organization where we have this, we're looking to use human-based computation games, which essentially model a problem in a game way and see if players can solve it better than we can. One of the things we might do is we're currently building a prototype in-house, and we're not sure if we have the right skills to take it to sort of go public with it. And we might look at getting a third-party developer to build it up for us to a sort of professional standard. What sort of, when looking at third parties, what sort of critical things are sort of make you think, oh, not these guys are never going to deliver? What are the warning signs? And conversely, what things should you look out for and think this is going to be a great partnership?
Thank you. I think, that's the whole sort of like subcontracting part is a whole different game. But of course, there are a lot of different options also for you depending on your budget. Like you can go with indies that have done something similar. You can also go with big production houses. So there's a wide range of choice. But I think that it's always important to still look at the portfolio. Like, why do you think that they're able to do this? So if they have done something similar in the past, because it sounds like not necessarily like a game, but more like a technology and platform that you are trying to build.
Hopefully it will be fun and compelling and game-like, but still give us the data we need.
Yeah.
So that there is a tension there, a balance to be struck. So we do want it, hopefully, to be fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would still like the only thing I know how to recommend is to just look at the portfolio and the track and what they've done in their previous works, and also see how your visions align, so how much you can actually give. But I mean, in these cases, you are still going to be the owner of the IP, unless you do it with a big production house for a rev share, so that they own part of the IP. But yeah, I would just look at the portfolio and look at the team.
I think we're out of time at this
Yes,
point, but
great.
I'd like to thank Kadri for a great presentation, very informative. I'm sure you're going to be around for the rest of the conference to answer any questions and talk to anyone who's looking. So we're going to take about a couple-minute break, and then we're going to be back with our next talk here. So.